This idea of Ferierro is that K-Nest, as vice chair, would be assuming all of these powers in violation of the bylaws. Senator Weinberg, when the topic came up, said, "This is not proper, and I'm not going to give my support to this." Everyone else in the room was fine with it. They went right over Senator Weinberg's objections, and they, as a group, endorsed this idea. So they, at that point, and I'm including Congressman Rothman because he was in the room, became part of an improper arrangement whereby the leadership of the Democratic Committee was usurped and handed to K-Nest, someone who has never been elected chair and who cannot properly exercise these powers. Now, since then, Kay has appointed Paul Kaufman as counsel, and she has no doubt signed checks during the course of the November campaign. I'd be astonished to learn that we had a presidential election and that the chair or acting chair or vice chair of the Democratic Committee for Bergen County signed no checks during that election. Now, what happened every time Kay signed a check to disperse the funds that had been collected under these bylaws, that were entrusted to the committee under these bylaws? It is a good question, and I want Congressman Rothman to answer it, whether this is not bank fraud. If it's not your money and you sign the check when you know you don't have the power to do so, and the check goes to the bank and they that are not properly under your control, is this not a violation of the federal law that requires that people not commit bank fraud? And is it not arguable that the people who encouraged K-Nest, Congressman Rothman and the others, excepting Senator Weinberg, which she was opposed to, that the people in that room who encouraged K-Nest to sign these checks were part of a conspiracy to commit the federal felony of bank fraud? How long will this felony be in progress? The judge has set the trial of Joseph Ferierro for September 2009. The plan is obviously for Joseph Ferierro, while he's out on a so-called leave of absence, to run the Democratic Party until his trial is over, through K-Nest, who is improperly exercising these powers, as you can see for yourself.
May I interpose now with a little bit of background information? There are some Fort Lee people in the room who know K-Nest. She is the widow of the man who was the Democratic leader of Fort Lee, therefore a Ferierro man, and she is now the chair of the parking authority, the Fort Lee Parking Authority. And I think the most comfortable phrase I can do is that she's a very inappropriate person for the job.
Well, appropriate or not, she never got the job. There's only one way to get elected chair of the committee, and that's to be elected chair under the rules, under the bylaws. No one can contest the fact. K-Nest was never elected the chair. Anything she does other than preside at meetings is in violation of the bylaws because she is simply not the chair. You can all read for yourselves the power that she has properly and decide for yourself whether she has any other powers. Now, the arrangement has thus been made, unfortunately with the support of Congressman Rothman, for K-Nest to exercise these powers improperly, and as far as you can tell in the outside world, until September 2009, or until that trial is over, or until the appeals are over, and Joseph Ferierro is satisfied that he can reassume his duties as chair of the Bergen County Democratic Committee. So regardless of whatever political gossip you read on BlueJersey.com, whatever they are gossiping about, we're soon going to have another chair. There's absolutely nothing in the public record to suggest that Ferierro's plans have altered. As far as we can tell in the outside world, Ferierro has arranged for K-Nest to run the party for the foreseeable future. Now, what can be done about this? Obviously, people can circulate petitions calling on the chairman to resign, which he should have done months ago. A large number of important people asked him to resign, including Congressman Rothman and Governor Corzine, as I recall. But asking him to resign is simply asking him. It's up to him, okay? And we can go on petitioning him, but there's no way to compel him under the bylaws as they stand. Now, What is then our alternative, those of us who are Democrats who are ashamed to have a chairman, one, under multiple federal indictments, two, arranging for a year of bank fraud? What are our options? Well, if we're members of the Bergen County Democratic Committee, we have the power under the bylaws to call a convention. The convention, 5% of the committee has to sign the petition, and then the convention has to be called. Of course, this is the rule we tried to use in the summer of 2007, and Ferierro disregarded our petition, and Congressman Ruffman didn't back us up. But nevertheless, that's the rule. That's the law. We have the right to call that convention. We can propose an amendment to the bylaws that would give us power to oust the chair. Since under the bylaws it requires a two-thirds vote to change the bylaws, I would suggest that an appropriate level of vote to oust a chair who's been elected legitimately for a two-year term would be the same two-thirds majority. I would not advocate a situation in which a 51% majority can put a chair in, and any time a temporary 51% majority is disappointed with that chair, the term is over and we get a new chair. That leads to instability. No one can do planning. It seems to me to be an inappropriate suggestion. I would suggest, therefore, that the time has come to put into the bylaws of the Bergen County Democratic Committee an ouster mechanism whereby if a convention is called with proper notice to all the members of the committee, at least a week's notice, and at that convention a two-thirds majority calls for the chair to be ousted, the chair is ousted. Okay. At that point there would be a vacancy, and under the bylaws as they stand, there's a mechanism for filling a vacancy.
How about a provision that would allow for any chairman or member of the management staff there who was under criminal indictment to be immediately dismissed pending the result of that indictment?
I would not.
Is that too?
I would not phrase it that way. Other people may disagree, and everyone. I'm not a member of the committee, so I can't even sign the petition. But I would not phrase it that way. I would not give unilateral power to an outside prosecutor who might be from an opposing political party to alter the membership perhaps the week before a national election or whatever it might be. I would leave the power with the people who elect the chair in the first place. If they see fit, and I would say for any cause, if a two-thirds majority of them see fit to remove their officer, I think they should have the power to oust their officer. I think it was simply an oversight that that wasn't put into the bylaws in the first place. The members of the Democratic Committee of Bergen County are elected by the Democrats across the county to represent them, and I believe that they should have the power to control who their officers are. I would not make it this 51% thing, so you can never tell who their officers are from week to week. Obviously, it would take extraordinary circumstances to assemble a two-thirds majority to throw out someone who had recently been elected by a 50% plus majority, right? But we are under extraordinary circumstances. I think it quite likely that if we win the power to oust the chairman, that the chairman will be ousted and a new chairman will be picked. Unless three things happen. One, a convention is called. Two, the bylaws are amended to allow for an ouster. And three, the chairman gets ousted. Until those three separate things occur, there will be, as far as you can tell, no vacancy in the Bergen County chair. And all this talk about replacing Ferierro is just hot air. Okay? Also, until these three things happen, as far as you can tell, there will be an ongoing disbursement of monies that were accumulated validly under the bylaws by someone who has no power to disperse those funds, Kay Nest, who cannot disperse them properly. She cannot tell Paul Kaufman, you are now our lawyer and we will pay you for being our lawyer. That's not presiding over meetings. You all have the rules in front of you. You can see that I'm telling you the truth about this. Okay, so we have to urge those members of the committee, and we have a number of them with us tonight, to join in this effort to get a 5% petition going. If the convention is not called after we acquire 5% signatures, which is about 67 signatures, and we should be able to get it just as we got it in the summer of 2007, when the chair was not indicted. If we can get the signatures and they still refuse to call the convention and refuse to allow us the opportunity to amend the bylaws, then legal action may be necessary in order to safeguard the rights of the Democrats of Bergen County.
And the